Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for taking the time to join us. My name is Mike Shorts. I'm an account executive with Alliance Corporation. I've been selling wireless about 18 years, and I've been selling DAS itself since 1999. Got a very short synopsis about Alliance and a little bit about DAS itself and the drivers behind it. And then I'm going to introduce Dennis Rigney, who's with Solid Technologies, and he's going to take you through the rest of the presentation. Dennis has been in telecom for over 13 years, and specifically selling DAS for 10 years as well, and we'll get to it now. As you see in front of you, you have a window there to enter in questions at any time, and at the end of the presentation, we will be answering those for you. So looking at some of the solutions that Alliance provides, we do microwave backhaul, indoor-outdoor DAS, supply chain solutions, standard infrastructure solutions, cable hangers, things like that, as well as specialized fiber facilities for wireless communications. We focus on carriers, contractors, integrators, and OEMs, and we do that everywhere from Alaska to Argentina. So we have facilities all over North and Central and South America. We are the leading distributor of wireless infrastructure products. We have an extensive inventory. We have very expert assistance from our people. Most in our groups here are over 10 years plus experience, and some with up to 20 years. As noted before, we do have warehouses throughout USA, Canada, and Central Latin America. Some of the infrastructure solutions that we do, fiber and coax connectorization, antennas, accessories, DAS solutions, DAS cabling, DAS antennas. We are the industry experts in PIM, fiber connectivity solutions for wireless, indoor and outdoor DAS, as well as supply chain solutions specifically tailored to wireless communications. Just some of the metrics that are driving this move to in-building. We've seen a lot of in-building in the past, but the numbers that we're seeing now are just starting to explode. By 2012, in-building DAS in North America is expected to reach $2 billion. The hospital and healthcare vertical is expected to reach, alone is expected to reach $4 billion in 2015. That's some huge numbers, and a 3 or 4-fold growth over what we've seen in the past few years. And what is driving this? Well, mainly it's a capacity issue. Offload from the macro network, better use of the spectrum, higher quality of service. As everybody knows, clearly more than 60% of all data sessions are either initiated or terminated indoors. That's a huge driver for in-building. The other is the HETNet, the heterogeneous networks topology that carriers are moving towards. One providing the coverage from the macro network and capacity from smaller cells, including indoor DAS. Just a quick reminder for our next webinar, we will be having Hammond Manufacturing enclosures and cabinets on December 7th, 2011. And at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Dennis. Thank you very much.
All right. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Mike, thank you for the introduction. As Mike mentioned, my name is Dennis Rigney. I'm a Director of Sales at Solid Technologies, USA. We're going to start today with a little bit about who is Solid Technologies, transition into what is DAS and what problems does it solve, the verticals that are deploying DAS today and why, some market trends around the carriers, the integrators, and the manufacturers and their approach to DAS, as well as current trends and considerations and best practices. At the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to answer any questions. If you would like, as Mike mentioned, to type those in the meantime, we'll we'll collect the questions and address those at the end of the presentation. First of all, Solid Technologies is a global innovator. Internationally, we're a 13-year-old organization with about 160 employees. Internationally, our headquarters is in Seoul, South Korea. We have 5 total offices throughout the world. In North America, our headquarters is in Winston, Oregon. We are also the only DAS manufacturer to have domestic distribution in Northern California. All of the North American DAS products are warehoused in Northern California and shipped directly throughout North America. Solid is a publicly traded South Korean company that did approximately $90 million in revenue last year worldwide. We're, in addition to being DAS manufacturer, we have laser components and optical network solutions, as well as interface cancellation technology and some other technologies throughout the globe. What I wanted to do was to start off this call to give a third-party perspective on DAS, the importance of DAS, and how it's transforming the marketplace. We wanted to show a small video based on the Bellevue collection, which is a massive condo, office space, hotel room, retail shop facility out in Bellevue, Washington. And we wanted to show the video, which will basically give the third-party perspective on how DAS has transformed this spectacular property.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
Hi. Hi. I know, I'm trying to get it back on. Okay, thanks.
A technologically savvy customer that's coming into the Bellevue collection, they want those services. KDC providing it to them is that much more incentive for them to come into these properties.
The driving force for the use of distributed antenna systems is safety. The city of Bellevue has a very progressive outlook when it comes to communications technology and public safety.
Here in Bellevue, since approximately 2000, we have had a city ordinance adopted in the International Fire Code that has required buildings of certain size and types, how they're constructed, to install in-building radio systems that improve the communication with fire service.
With the DAS, users can easily upgrade and service to meet the future needs of their business. The West of Bellevue is located in Lincoln Square with its 337 luxury guest rooms and more than 55,000 square feet of meeting space provides a perfect example of this kind of scalability. The DAS at the Westin Bellevue provides a standard fire life safety coverage as well as Wi-Fi in the guest rooms and public areas and cell phone coverage throughout the facility.
It's all about scale. Not only is overall management of the building.
The customers are benefiting by the DAS by simply having the ability to use all the technologies that are currently out there within the confines of the collection.
Great. Sorry if there was a little bit of an audio delay there in the beginning, but I hope it corrected itself pretty quickly and everyone got the message there that scalability, inclusion of public safety, as well as flexibility and modularity moving forward are the key components that are driving the Bellevue collection. What I'd like to talk about now is where DAS got started and the fact that the way it was a reactive approach to specific cell phone carriers, selling phones to a company, realizing they're not going to work, and having to go out and spend money to fix the problem after the handsets had been deployed. You know, each carrier was focused on fixing their own problem, probably with the most economical solution. And at the end of the day, what would happen is those problems that were created around voice are now coming back with the introduction of data, high-speed data. Some of those initial systems are no longer able to support the newer technologies. Unfortunately, in many cases, the reactive approach to fixing coverage still applies in about 50% of the time. The way it is for building owners today, building owners have become more educated, which hopefully you were able to gain from that video we just showed. As I mentioned, some of those initial DASs that were put out there are probably end of life now, no longer upgradable or able to be used for future technologies. DAS today require, building owners today require both voice and data services. There's a want and a need for public safety, and building owners in many cases recognize that public safety as well as commercial DAS are both under their responsibility, and they're willing to initiate those conversations without necessarily going to the carrier first. You know, building owners want multi-carrier DAS. It's what's in their best interest. Very few building owners have one carrier in their building, and at the end of the day, that means they have multiple customers within their facility, and therefore multiple carrier DAS would absolutely be the best solution for them. Some of the venue drivers that are helping make these decisions for these building owners are mobile, wireless, data-driven applications, individually liable handsets. As I just mentioned, very few building owners have a single customer. Many of them have all carriers, if not at least multiple carriers within their building. So a single carrier solution or a single carrier fix will no longer meet the need of that customer. Public safety, if it's not a compliant, if you don't have a public safety standard in your city, at the very least, it's definitely a best practice. Why not prepare or be ready if there's a ordinance passed to mandate public safety? Why not use infrastructure that can be supported from VHF all the way through 2100 to support that public safety initiative? Basically what you're doing when you look at combining the two technologies is creating an insurance policy around any future standards that may impact public safety in buildings. As you heard in the video, you may have heard in the video, the city of Bellevue actually has in place a public safety standard already, and the trend is that that standard will continue to grow throughout the country or throughout North America. All of the number one driving factor behind DAS is making it simple. The building owners don't want to be involved in DAS. The customers, the end users, don't want to be involved in DAS. They don't want to have to manage it. They don't want to have to maintain it. Operational simplicity is a key element in building DAS. Avoiding obsolescence, making sure what you put in today can support current technologies, current protocols, as well as future technologies, whether that be additional bands or additional protocols. Make sure it has the room to expand, make sure it can expand easily. Everything can grow. The question is, how does it grow? Is it inherent in the DAS to be able to add additional features in the field? Is it a modular DAS? Is it able to be upgraded real time? Or is it pulling more of the same in order to add additional bands? So avoiding obsolescence, but also avoiding obsolescence in the most simplistic manner, very important. And then at the end of the day, what we're really seeing in these large venues is more and more of them want to control their own destiny. They want to say in what goes in. They want to say in how it's used, who gets to use it, how those carriers or public safety people get to use it. And they also want to say in, everybody on one DAS, everybody on one infrastructure. We don't want multiple antennas. We want a single DAS to support all of our solutions across all bands. To that end, public safety on a DAS, just to give you a little snapshot of where public safety on the DAS is going, 75% of Solid's customers today deploy public safety or two-way radio, commercial two-way radio systems. Frequencies include everything from VHF all the way through 800, public safety. There's a lot of talk out there about what are the benefits if I do this, in addition to being ready, in addition to being compliant when they pass a standard, what other benefits are there? Some have said that there's an additional discounts in insurance that your customers may want to look into regarding, offering the first responders the ability to connect. Compliance often initiates the DAS discussion. So, what are the plans of the city to upgrade public safety standards, and would I be compliant with them? The other thing around compliance is, before a standard is written, if you were to ask the city, many of them will tell you that you would be grandfathered in if you deploy a system today, even if it's not, quote unquote, the standard when a standard is passed, you can be grandfathered in. So what we're seeing is more and more customers say, let me go sign up for that now so that if the standard is passed, I don't have to redo what I've already done. Again, operational simplicity. Best practice philosophy is always to become public safety ready. If it's there, if it's available, why not take advantage of it? Who's deploying DAS? Where are the largest vertical that we're seeing, or the quickest growing vertical, is healthcare. Medium and large hospitals, spending a lot of money on DAS right now, and the industry says that that trend is going to continue in that vertical. Hospitality, as we saw with the Bellevue collection, public venues, stadiums, arenas. I mean, there have been numerous new stadium and arena DAS is put in, and as I mentioned earlier, many of these new projects are not, quote, brand new DAS projects. They're replacing existing technology or upgrading existing technology to become compliant with today's, or to be able to be used with today's new data technology, new data applications, etc. Enterprise, corporate and campuses, education, government, pretty much everyone has a need for DAS, and they're being deployed across all verticals. Just as a real quick picture of how this is growing throughout the country, the customers that I'm showing you now have all been deployed this past year, with a multi-carrier DAS, with multiple carriers on them, and in many of these cases, not only commercial cell, but also public safety two-way radio or commercial in-house radio. So you'll notice that in all of these slides, it's not just hospital, it's not just healthcare, it's enterprise, it's public safety, public sector. It really runs across all of those verticals. And again, these are a snapshot of some of the customers that have signed up for multi-carrier DAS this year. Some of the trends in the industry, we'll start with the carriers, just to give you a high-level overview of some of the different approach to DAS in the industry. We basically tried to break down the carrier based on some of their operational differences. So the first carrier here, the yellow carrier, has a national DAS group, has national standards, national engineering, national budgets. They require a new sale. They're a sales-driven organization. They step back from owning the DAS. They'd rather have the building owner own the DAS, but they are willing to plug in if a building owner owns it or if a third party owns it. The purple carrier, really no national standard, regional engineering budgets, regional engineering itself, regional decision making, more focused on single carrier solutions, plug-in philosophy, and they're willing to plug in when needed, but again, they really have more of a single carrier or PICO offload mentality around DAS. The blue carrier has a new national group with some national standards, national engineering, national budgets, regional cooperation. They like to own DAS when possible. Single and multi-carrier solutions are both available, and they do plug in occasionally when it's advantageous. The red carrier has no national group. They have some national standards, but everything's really focused on regional engineering, regional budget, regional decisions. They do a lot of single carrier. They will lead big deals if they need to, and again, they're willing to plug in. And last, we'll call these our purple friends from the north. There's what we've seen collectively are national standards, national engineering, national budgets, DAS ownership goal, single carrier solutions, and a passive DAS approach to many of their solutions. The reason we talk about all those, the reason we cover all the carrier trends is really to focus on two primary points. First, each of them have a different approach, if not entirely, definitely in many of the aspects. But if you notice, all of them have some type of plug-in model, some type of willingness to plug into infrastructure that is owned and maintained by a third party. The integrators are really the brains behind that part of it. The integrators are the group that make the enterprise-owned or the third-party-owned DAS acceptable to the carriers. So 70% of the integrator business is still carrier-directed, mostly single carrier, leaving about 30% of that to be enterprise. They are slow. Integrators are moving into public safety. They're starting to embrace it and starting to utilize resources to include or differentiate themselves around public safety. There's a huge demand for RF engineers right now in the integrators, which can only lead to the fact that they're following this upswing in the business, and they see it as well. Standardization on Ivy Wave, and a push towards managed services. Again, going back, operational simplicity. The integrators are ahead of that. They're pushing towards managing these things more and more so that the customers don't have to. The next part of the DAS business is the DAS manufacturers. So we have some trends that have developed in the manufacturing space: mergers and acquisitions, fiber-based distribution for larger venues, increasing worldwide demand for DAS, and look for distributed capacity routing through fiber DAS. Each one of those three people play an important part in what we call the Shared DAS program. The Shared DAS program is developed primarily because of the differences that I mentioned before in each of the carriers, yet the customer's constant need for a solution across all of those carriers, and even including multiple technologies such as public safety. The Shared DAS model really is pretty standard, pretty simple, in that it gives the building owner ownership, allows them to call the shots, allows them to own the DAS and make the decisions. It asks the carriers to pay for their piece, keeping each carrier's cost relative to either their size in the market or their percentage of the DAS. but most importantly, it relies on the integrators, the people who drive these designs, drive the implementations, and manage this or make it operational, or making it a simple solution to manage going forward. The integrators are the third key component to this DAS management. Shared DAS relies on, as I mentioned, a building owner owning it, a carrier paying their part, but most importantly, an integrator monitoring it, maintaining it, and supporting that infrastructure going forward. Not only supporting it for the customer, but coordinating with the carriers to let them know what's needed. If there's a problem with the source, across the board, the integrator really becomes the glue that keeps this entire program together. Some of the best practices that have been identified in working through the shared DAS program are the building owners need to be clear about their objectives. Make sure that when you talk to a building owner, when a building owner has a requirement, it's clear that they want all carriers, whether or not there's a need for public safety, whether or not there's a need for commercial two-way radio. Are they looking to, provide specific data applications? Do they want to make money on the DAS? Do they just want a free DAS? What are their objectives when it comes to DAS? They need to be very clear up front about their objectives so that everyone can get a clear picture of what they're expected to provide. Wireless carriers, it's important that we figure out a model where the carriers pay their share of the DAS. We're not necessarily asking for more or less from every carrier. That could either be based on a percentage of the overall DAS, 3 carriers, 33% each, or percentage based on market share. Each carrier, 2 carriers have 40% of the market, one has 20. That might be another model. The important part is that the carriers pay their share of the DAS, which makes this model more advantageous to each of the carriers, and in many cases, much easier for everybody to agree that if the building owner owns it and everyone's just paying their share, it's an equitable model where the carriers can get, whether it be macro offload or in-building coverage or data support, at a fair cost. DAS integrators, broaden IP network and RF engineering knowledge, continue to advance the things that we can put over DAS, the applications that we can drive, educate the customers about public safety, educate the customers about technology, and continue to be the expert in this market. And then equipment manufacturers, we need to continue to broaden our product line, make it look different than it looks today, make it work better, faster, for less money, in different environments, in harsh environments, in enterprise environments, no matter what the environment is, continue to broaden our product line so that it continues to advance without any pain to the end user. Solid, as I mentioned earlier, is a manufacturer, and just at a high level, the way we've addressed the market is basically through a topology that allows for multiple RF sources, wideband, to plug into a single head end, be converted to light, and then distributed out over a single strand of fiber per remote. This topology allows for maximum flexibility in design, as well as future-proof technology through 100% hot swappable components, modular components, protocol independence, and as I mentioned earlier, wideband, so 150 to 2100, all bands in between can all be run over a single DAS infrastructure, independent of whether they're commercial cell or two-way radio. Our infrastructure combines all of these technologies, assigns dedicated power, applies a level of filtering that is not used by any other manufacturer called surface acoustic wave filtering, and again, sends all of those combined frequencies out over a single strand of fiber, allowing for fiber flexibility and conservation at your customer location. We can do over a single strand of fiber through a single head end, SISO, for all carriers, or MIMO over that same single strand of fiber. Going forward, we have products that are going to reduce the size of the footprint currently available that can also do SISO over a single strand of fiber, or you can actually sectorize at the head end and do MIMO over 2 strands of fiber, or for capacity, do 2 sectors at 1 head end. So Solid's, the way Solid is expanding in the market is to keep things simple, save space, be flexible, be modular, make it easy for the customer to upgrade to new technologies, but at the same time provide a solution that is accepted and approved by all carriers for plug-in, which is the one common ground between any and all of the carriers that we've discussed today. At this point, I'd like to pause, and I believe Lisa can open it up for questions and answers.
Okay, sorry people, I guess we're having some technical difficulties with Dennis. We're going to close it off now. You can reach us via email at mshort@alliancecorporation.ca with any further questions, and be happy to help you out. Once again, everybody, thank you very much for your time, and you will be sent an email with access to a copy of the presentation. And again, you can reach me at my email for any other further questions. Thank you.